Hello, and welcome back to our annual Champions League quarterfinal predictions. I'm pretty sure that you must have enjoyed breathtaking round of 16 encounters, especially magical European night between Atletico traditional rivals Atletico Madrid and Real Madrid. And for the sixth time, Atletico Madrid failed to beat Real Madrid in a knockout tie of Champions League 1959, 2014, 15, 16, 17, and now 2025. Poor guy Diego Simeone. I do feel sorry for him. It was a bit of bad luck, but once again, Real Madrid simply knows how to basically carve result out of nothing, and they did it again. So we're going to start with obviously with a brief review of Liverpool PSG. Liverpool finished apparently top of the Champions League. I mean, there were 36 teams in this new formula. 36 teams, 36 best teams of Europe. Liverpool finished at top. Yet PSG, they finished 15th in the in the same league table, and they knocked Liverpool out. So if we go as per the rankings, Liverpool were hot favourites to actually not only win that tie of the round of 16 between against PSG, but in fact they were meant to go all the way to final to lift the trophy. So it pretty much sums up this new system, new formula, that regardless of the fact whether you finish first, second, or third, it doesn't matter. When it comes down to the knockout ties, all teams are equal. As a matter of fact, Bayer Leverkusen, they also finished in top 8. They got knocked out as well. Lille, Liverpool, and I think there was a fourth team as well. Can't get, I think it was apparently Club Brugge, or maybe I think there was some another team, but they also couldn't make it. Fact of the matter is that if we go back to the history of Champions League of the past 20-25 years, Real Madrid, they have never really done that well in the group stages, be it the old format or be it the new format. But when it matters, they always lift up their game. PSG and Liverpool game, I would say it was one of the biggest upsets of the modern Champions League era. Simply because PSG were generally regarded as chokers, just like the South African cricket team. They had their nightmares in the past like 10-15 years. There were some ties which they were meant to win, and they couldn't win. And especially to go to Anfield and beat Liverpool there, I think they have definitely pulled a rabbit out of hat. And they are going to be a very difficult team to beat in the quarterfinals. So let's start with the first quarterfinal, which is Arsenal Gunners versus Real Madrid. Arsenal beat Real Madrid in 2006 Champions League. I think it was second round, round of 16 tie. Thierry Henry and Arsene Wenger. I mean, that was a great Arsenal team. They didn't do well that season in the domestic Premier League, but they certainly knocked Real Madrid out. So that is one positive. History always matters. The reason why I'm saying it is because the burden, the burden of the European night, especially to deliver. And if you haven't done it in the past, like Atletico Madrid, it comes down to haunt you one way or another. And we have seen it in different sports as well. I think it was Andy Roddick and Roger Federer. Andy Roddick never beat him in the final or in ICC events, for example. India has Pakistan numbers. Somehow, one way or another, India always manages to beat Pakistan in big ICC event cricket matches. So that is one positive for Arsenal, but that is the only positive they have because Arsenal are also a mini or small version of PSG. They are also chokers like South African cricket team, and especially they have choked at biggest stages. My memory goes back to their game against Chelsea in 2004. I was in UK at that time and I was studying, and that was a season of invincibles. Arsenal didn't lose any game in English Premier League, and they beat Chelsea that season twice in the Premier League and in Carabao Cup. apparently. It used to be known as Carling Cup, or was it FA Cup? Whatever it was. I mean, they managed to beat them twice. So Arsenal managed to beat Chelsea 4 times that season, and yet when it came down to the Champions League quarterfinal stages, they ended up losing against Chelsea, and that too at Highbury, by the way. The first game was a tie, 1-1 draw at Stamford Bridge, Chelsea, my previous employers, a long time back, 25 years ago. So their nightmares begin from that point onwards, and if we go a little bit further back, David Seaman's era. They lost to Valencia in quarterfinals in 2000, I think so. The game they shouldn't have lost actually, because I think if Arsenal would have beaten Valencia in 2000, in fact it was 2001, they would have certainly beaten Leeds United and they would have reached Champions League final. And that is a reference which Arsene Wenger gave several years later, that he had massive regret of losing to Valencia, a game they were meant to win. They lost against Chelsea in Europa League final as well, I think a few years ago. And they had nightmares against Barcelona in Champions League for so many years. They used, one way or another, they used to beat them in quarterfinals, round of 16, and they will always end up losing. Arsenal has never won the Champions League. It's a fact. It is one of the richest clubs in Europe, but they have never won the Champions League. They have only played one final, which was in 2006, and that was the year they actually beat Real Madrid. So maybe Lady Luck might shine this time. However, I have a second opinion on this, because second leg is going to take place at Santiago Bernabeu. Real Madrid is doing pretty well in domestic league. And we need to emphasize one thing, that even when Real Madrid is not doing well in the domestic league, somehow they produce those magical performances in Champions League. And this time, since they're doing well in the domestic league, so they're going to be even harder to beat, especially with the arrival of Kylian Mbappe and this whole resurgence of Real Madrid after lifting the trophy last season. I see them unstoppable, actually. So Arsenal might win the first leg. You never know. They might win 2-1, 3-2. It could be 4-3, as we saw that tie between Manchester City and Real Madrid a few years ago. I think Manchester City won 4-3, but they ended up losing. So, but I think at Santiago Bernabeu, Arsenal is going to capitulate, and Real Madrid is going to shred them into pieces. I think it's going to be one-way traffic. And generally, historically speaking, Arsenal, they do not have good track record whenever they're playing away from home against Spanish teams, barring 2006, because they did beat, I think, Villarreal in the semi-finals that season. So clear favorites, Real Madrid. Now we proceed to the second quarterfinal, which is between PSG. They have managed. They're doing pretty good in the French domestic league, and so PSG, they're playing Aston Villa. Aston Villa is a Cinderella story, to be honest. I think it is after 40 years, Aston Villa has managed to reach quarterfinal stages of the Champions League. Last was in 1983, and they were the defending champions actually at that time. Aston Villa managed to beat Bayern Munich in 1982 European Cup final, and that is the only Champions League title they have ever won. They have a big supporter in Prince William, future King of England. He was excited, and it's just incredible for Aston Villa to resurface again at a European top flight level. But I think PSG is very tough nut to crack this season. And their defensive capabilities are superb. They have a very astute manager in Luis Enrique, who knows all about football. let's be honest. And if they can beat Liverpool, I think they can easily beat Aston Villa. There is, uh, I don't have any doubt about it. Uh, Now we can focus on Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich apparently has been under the radar this season. They are playing Inter Milan. Inter Milan were the finalists a few seasons ago. They narrowly lost to Manchester City, actually. Uh, when we talk about Inter Milan, I think their performances have been slightly disappointing actually when it really mattered. They lost to Atletico Madrid, I think, last season, a game they should have won. They were doing so brilliant in the league, in the Serie A league, and Atletico was not doing that well at all, and yet they ended up losing to Atletico. This season, they Derby d'Italia, their performance was not very convincing. They had a 4-all tie against Juventus, and in the second, in the return fixture, I think last month, they actually lost against Juventus, and let's be honest, Juventus is not doing well at all. They Juventus is not like doing wonders in Serie A. So what I can see, let's put it this way: whenever Inter has been put under the spotlight, or they have been under a little bit of pressure, they have crumbled. So based on that, otherwise they're doing reasonably well in the league, but it's just the pressure of the situation. And Bayern Munich, with their excellent forward lineup, Harry Kane and Musiala and Kingsley Coman, and they have experience. Bayern Munich has been under the radar, but let's not forget they have won 2 Champions League titles in the last 15 years, 2013, 2020. And they have always been in the quarterfinals and semifinals. So I think they have a good shot in beating Inter, and they can take revenge of 2010 Champions League final, which they famously lost to Inter Milan of Jose Mourinho at Santiago Bernabeu. And that was after 45 years, I think Inter managed to win the Champions League. So clear favorites. I think Bayern Munich, they are going to prevail and they are going to reach the semi-finals. And the last one is Dortmund and Barcelona. There is only one winner in that, and it's Barcelona. Because Dortmund is doing rubbish in German Bundesliga. They are inconsistent. They reached final of Champions League last season, but it was so disappointing. They wasted so many chances against Real Madrid in the final. They could have buried the game in the first 20 minutes. They couldn't do it. Somehow, credit to them, despite doing so poorly in the league. Somehow they have managed to reach, the quarterfinals. But I think that, and they're also a bunch of chokers, in my opinion, just like Arsenal or PSG of the past, not this PSG, or PSG of the past, or South African cricket team. They're also a bunch of chokers. They haven't won Champions League since 1997, when they famously beat Juventus in Munich 3-1. Since then, they have been to 2 Champions League finals. 2013, they lost to Bayern. Last season, they just crumbled under pressure against Real Madrid, and their performances have been largely inconsistent. And it just appears that their 1997 victory was a fluke. They haven't done anything remarkable in Europe. So Barcelona, they will prevail. Semifinals are going to be interesting because I think Bayern Munich, they are going to take revenge against Barcelona in the first semi-final. And I'm saying it because, yes, this is a research into Barcelona. They have young blood in it, Lamine Yamal, and they they are doing they are coming out of the shadows of Lionel Messi, of I mean. I would say that since the departure of Lionel Messi, Barca hasn't done well in Europe. And it generally takes 5-6 years to come out of shadows of that great player. So they, at least, I mean, Barcelona has learned the art of competing again in Europe, but I still, and they're doing very well in La Liga. It's just my gut feeling that they're still not ready to play in a Champions League final, and they haven't done it since 2015 when they beat Juventus in Berlin. In fact, I think 3-1 victory against Allegri's team, Pirlo's last game for Juve. And after that, they reached semi-finals in 2019, where they squandered a 3-0 lead against Liverpool. They were beaten very badly, 4-0 at Anfield. They were beaten badly by Roma. I think it was 2018. In 2017, they were knocked out by Juventus. I can't remember which team knocked them out in 2016. I think it was Atletico Madrid, maybe? Yes. But Barcelona, they are not ready for Champions League final yet. I think these bunch of players, they still need a season, I think so, to get that maturity. Because Bayern Munich, they're very, you see, it's a very ruthless machine. A majority of these players, some of these players actually were part of the last Champions League triumph in 2020. And they're always there in the latter part of this competition. They were unlucky against Real Madrid last season. There was a bit of fumble by Manuel Neuer. In fact, he is injured. I think he may not be playing any role in the quarterfinal stages. But having said that, I just think that Bayern is going to produce a spell of 15-20 minutes across two legs. It's a 180-minute game. We put injury time, say 10 minutes or say 20 minutes, because it's two matches. So 200 minutes of football. It's going to be a close encounter. But I think there is going to be a spell of 20 minutes. And I don't know whether in the first leg or in the second leg, where Bayern is going to destroy Barcelona. I think that 15-20 minute spell is going to make a difference. It's going to be pretty similar to their encounter in 2015, when they were neck and neck in the first leg. And then Lionel Messi produced magic, I think, in the last 15 minutes, 10 years ago, and they buried Bayern Munich. So Bayern are the finalists for me this season. I may be wrong, but that's what I think is going to happen. And secondly, the law of probability is going to support Bayern, because they have been so unlucky in semi-finals for so many seasons. And they're actually unlucky, largely at the hands of Real Madrid, because that is the team they are going to face in the Champions League final. PSG, with all the magic and all the resilience they have displayed, I think they're going to fell short in the semi-final stages. Kylian Mbappe, former PSG player, he might play a decisive role. He's a man of big matches. He might have something to prove. Florentino Perez, he doesn't generally want to lose these kind of games. And this is a model which BCCI in cricket, they are trying to replicate. Just like India, they have won 2 ICC trophies. They still haven't won 2 daddy trophies, like the main ODI World Cup and World Test Championship, but they are on the path to do that in the future. So, I mean, that's how sports is. I mean, if you have money, you have power, you should be using it. Just like life in general, sports, or even corporate business. I mean, nothing is fair. So, and that's why these kind of teams or or even their fans, they generate some kind of controversy as well, like Real Madrid supporters or Indian cricket team supporters. Uh, but they also generate a lot of interest because every other a non-supporter of Real Madrid, for example, they want them to lose. And same thing, we are witnessing it in cricket. Every non-Indian, they want India to lose as well. So it's interesting. And I also feel that underdogs, it's their job actually to beat these top dogs. For example, in ODI World Cup final in 2023 in Ahmedabad, Travis Head produced that performance of a lifetime, which practically stopped Indian cricket team's juggernaut and their 11th consecutive victory in that World Cup, and Australia won the World Cup. Similarly, if you look at Juventus, who have generally been unlucky in Europe, they have lost so many Champions League finals, but they're the only team who have actually beaten Real Madrid at their peak. They ended Galacticos era in 2003. That great Real Madrid team of Zidane and Brazilian Ronaldo, David. I think David Beckham wasn't there, but Luis Figo was certainly there. Raul was there, and Juventus knocked them out in the semi-finals. Juventus knocked them out in 2005, round of 16 as well. Juventus knocked them out in 2008. In 2015, Juventus knocked them out again, and that was Cristiano Ronaldo at his peak. Yes, Juve also suffered losses against Real Madrid, famously in 2017 and 1998 Champions League final and controversial quarterfinals. But Juve has always enhanced their performance, or they have improved their game whenever they have played these kind of top dogs, despite having less resources, less money, and less manpower. One example is 2017 when Juventus knocked Barcelona out. So small clubs or mid-tier clubs, the onus is on them to beat these kind of big teams. And that's why I was bitterly disappointed when last year Borussia Dortmund just failed to produce that performance which I was expecting. Although we knew that Real Madrid is going to win it, but there was nothing in the legs of Dortmund. So PSG is underdog. They have never won the Champions League. They've been to final once in 2020, where they lost to Bayern Munich. I think Kingsley Coleman, I think he scored the goal. It was a scrappy goal in the second half. And it was just purely lack of experience. Actually costed them that Champions League title. And I think PSG, they still do not have that cutting edge experience to see off these big top dogs in Europe. They have done it against Liverpool, but Real Madrid is a different kettle fish. If they will do it, I'll be very happy. and I'm a fan of Luis Enrique, but I just don't see it happening. I just don't see it happening at all. So it's going to be Real Madrid and Bayern Munich one-on-one, single leg final. Real Madrid hasn't lost a Champions League final since 1981, when Alan Kennedy's goal sank Real Madrid, 1981. I think it was in Paris, if my memory serves me well. And since then, Real Madrid hasn't lost any Champions League final. They reached in 1998 after a 17-year gap, and they have been an unstoppable force. They won in 98, 2000, 2002. Then there was a gap of 12 years, thanks to Juventus. They reached 2014, they beat Atletico Madrid. 2016, they beat Atletico Madrid. 17, they beat Juventus. 2018, they beat Liverpool. 2022, they beat Liverpool. 2024, they beat Dortmund. So it's been 44 years since any team has taken this unique privilege of beating them in the final. But if there is one team that can actually beat them in the final, that is Bayern Munich. Because Bayern Munich, they have suffered a lot against Real Madrid over the past 25 years. But they have also beaten Real Madrid as well on numerous occasions. 2012, when Ronaldo and Kaká missed penalties in Bernabeu, Santiago Bernabeu. So other than Juventus, if there is any team that has beaten Real Madrid at its peak in Santiago Bernabeu, that is Bayern Munich. Although that was not the real peak of Real Madrid because that was Jose Mourinho's phase. Their real peak started in 2014, but still they can take something out of that game. Manuel Neuer played in that game actually. So 2012, Stefan Effenberg's Bayern Munich. 2001, I clearly remember both ties. They actually, the great Giovanni Alber's goal in the first leg at Santiago Bernabeu synced them. So the Bayern, that was one of all-time great goals, by the way, by great Giovanni Albert of Brazil. They beat them in the semi-finals 2001. So they have their wins. I mean, they can take some positive out of it. And Bayern Munich, I think in a single leg tie is not an easy team to beat. So I think, just like Kylian Mbappe suffered a World Cup final loss, however, his own performance was at a different level. He scored like 4 goals, 3 goals and then 1 penalty. So we might have a similar situation where Bayern Munich will win the Champions League final, but Kylian Mbappe will produce a good final, and that will put history to bed. I think after 44 years, if Bayern Munich manages to beat Real Madrid in the final, then I think perhaps we will have a start of a new era in football. Although UEFA they have changed the group stage format, they have done a lot of changes in the structure of the Champions League, but it is still, it hasn't changed the mentality of Real Madrid. They're still there. And don't forget that they didn't finish in top 8 in the league stage. So this is my prediction for this year. Last year I predicted Real Madrid is going to win Champions League. This season I think they are going to be in the final, but I think it is going to be a surprise package. Bayern Munich, who are going to win. And it's a heartbreak for Barcelona because a lot of pundits and a lot of bookies and, the odds giver, they are actually rooting for a Barcelona-Real Madrid final, a dream final. But dream final, will always remain a dream. We have been in these situations before. 2015 was considered as a dream final as well, when Barcelona reached the final, but Juventus knocked Real Madrid out. I think there have been a couple of other seasons as well, where there were chances that they will face each other in the final. I think 2006 as well, by the way. There were chances that they're going to meet each other in the final. I don't think so. I think it's just not written in the stars. They're not going to face each other in the final. However, still, Real Madrid is going to perform better than Barcelona in the Champions League. Some of my Barcelona friends, if they are listening to this video, they may not agree. But that's how it is. It's just fair and balanced analysis. So Bayern Munich, they are going to win their Champions League title after 5 years. And if they do manage to win it, I would say that they have done remarkably well in the first quarter of 21st century, having won the Champions League in 2001, 2013, 2020. So this will be their 4th Champions League title in 25 years. And lastly, I want to talk about the group stage format, which has been organized by UEFA. I don't think so it is fair, because there are some teams, they're playing round of 32, they're playing 2 extra games to reach round of 16. So there are some teams, they will play 15 matches to win the Champions League, and there will be few teams, they will play 17 matches to win the Champions League. I don't think so it is fair. Football is packed, there are so many games, and what's the point of having a 36 team single league table, and then you are allowing a team which is 24th to still compete for the round of 32. I think what UEFA can do, straight top 16 teams should directly qualify for the round of 16. a lot of people are confused. In fact, I mean, I've received a lot of messages actually. I mean, I do have a decent number of subscribers. People are confused. I mean, they don't know about round of 32. And there was so much confusion going on when round of 32 matches were taking place. A lot of people thought that it is round of 16, which is not the case. So why? And secondly, a team which finishes ninth in that league structure is playing against a team which is finishing 24th. I don't think so. It's a fair battle. I think this way UEFA is undermining the league. For example, Liverpool finished top. Okay, Liverpool finished top of the league out of 36 best teams in Europe, and yet they are not in the quarterfinals. So, in my opinion, I think they need to tweak the rules. Straight top 16 teams should directly go to the round of 16, and then normal competition should start. I don't think so. This extra, and I don't see the reason why extra privilege is given to the teams which are finishing from 17 to 24. It's rubbish. In my opinion, a team which doesn't finish in the top 16 doesn't deserve even 1% chance to win the Champions League. We will see how things shape up. But as of now, I'm really excited. Which team I'm supporting? I'm not supporting any team. My team, as a matter of fact, didn't even qualify for the round of 16. Juventus requires a lot of introspection. I think they, just like Pakistani cricket team, they require significant amount of improvement in their domestic structure. Just like Pakistani cricket team, they require significant amount of improvement in their domestic cricket season. Juventus Youth Academy is not producing enough talent. They do not have enough money to purchase top big players like Real Madrid or Barcelona can do. So if you do not have money, you need to produce players. And if you're not producing players, then you're good for nothing. And this is exactly what is happening with Juventus. They have to do something in their youth academies, and it's a long-term plan. But the way I look at it, I do not see Juventus competing in Europe for the next 5 years, by the way. However, having said that, Juventus is still doing reasonably better than Manchester United, who are actually fighting for a relegation battle. I cannot believe it that actually I will be passing this statement that Manchester United is fighting for relegation battle in the English Premier League. So, I mean, for them to qualify for Champions League in itself will be a huge achievement. But football works in cycles. Aston Villa has proved it. They have finally made it after 40 plus years. And a lot of new generation, people of new generation, who were born in after 2000 or even after 1990, they never knew about the history of Aston Villa, that how great a club it was, by the way. It had tremendous history. They've won a lot of old English league titles. And I was also equally happy when Leicester City, I think almost a decade ago, played in the quarterfinals of the Champions League. I think these kind of clubs, they give enough motivation to a lot of other teams who do not have financial resources, that if you have the willpower, if you have the resilience, you have that a mindset, that you can basically do something big in Europe, you can certainly do it. Winning a Champions League is a different ball game. I think the era has changed. There is a lot of money is involved. Although if we go back 35 to 40 years or 50 years, there used to be a lot of surprise packages. There used to be a lot of teams who used to win the grand old European Cup, like Steaua Bucuresti. They famously beat Barcelona in penalties in 1986 Champions League final. The great old Yugoslavia before Balkanization. Red Star Belgrade, Crvena Zvezda. In 1991, they beat, I think it was Marseille, in the final of the Champions League. Borussia Dortmund famously beating Juventus in 1997. Valencia reaching 2 consecutive Champions League finals in 2000 and 2001. Monaco reaching the Champions League final in 2004. FC Porto winning 2 Champions League titles in 1987 when they prevailed over Bayern Munich, in 2004 when they beat Monaco in the final. That was a surprise package. Celtic winning in 1967, Feyenoord in 1970. The biggest of all of them is, unfortunately, FC Hamburger beating Juventus in 1983 European Cup final. I still, even after 42 years, I still haven't come up to terms that how could Juventus lose to FC Hamburger. Felix Magath scored that wonderful goal in the 6th minute, and they managed to beat Juventus. So there have been Roma reaching the final in 1984. They lost to Liverpool. But if we go back to the past 15 years, I think smaller clubs reaching the final, the probability has decreased now because there is way too much money is involved. But Borussia Dortmund did reach the final last season. Inter Milan reached the final a couple of 3-4 seasons ago. And although Inter is generally considered as the royalty in Europe, but they don't have the financial resources. We'll see that how Champions League seasons shape up in the next 4 to 5 years. But if we will continue to see Real Madrid, Barcelona, Bayern Munich, Manchester City dominating it, I think the value of the tournament may diminish. The time will tell. Until next season, goodbye and enjoy these wonderful European nights. Thank you very much.